Hey guys, cheers for tuning into another video. This time we talk about Season of Discovery, specifically Phase 3 and how that's gone, what we were expecting and how are we going forward from here. So Season 3, or Phase 3 of Season of Discovery, however you want to term it, call that wrong, has been hit and miss. For me, it's been a big miss. It started off really well, especially the way the incursions were really portrayed as some of the things you could actually do, and as we get the higher level cap going from 40 to 50, I was looking forward to the additional dungeons that fall within that level bracket and get to flex the extra skills and extra runes. However, that didn't really came to be. There was so much that was done wrong in Phase 3, and it really feels like they just didn't develop enough along what is generally quite a slim section of content. It really... I don't really understand Blizzard's kind of direction with this. I don't know what they were trying to achieve. Sunken Temple was done fine as a zone. I think it was utilized incredibly well, but anything outside of that I feel was underwhelming for a lot of it. The level 40 to 50 experience was completely muted due to the strength of the incursions leveling process, which really undermined the zone leveling that you could experience, because really you fell into this problem of, if I want to do Sunken Temple or any of the max level, level 50 content, then obviously I want to do the quicker route, which was incursions. I do think they're a bit too powerful. I still think they're too powerful for leveling at the moment. It kind of takes away from the entirety of the game. It kind of neuters the whole rune system that it has going, completely gone, because once you develop a system within those incursions leveling, you kind of don't need to really use them. That's how I felt. The incursions themselves isn't particularly a bad piece of content. I think they're actually really nice, and I really think they're a nice idea, a nice addition for Blizzard that I've brought in. I do think they just need to sort of tailor the sort of strengths they have, and also really think about what sort of reward they should put in there. Should it just be a rep faction, or there should be a little bit more in it? Something that you can actually physically do and get rewarded. Not so much immediately, but just doing it, and not just spamming over and over again. Granted, that's the classic experience as a nutshell, but it would be nice for them to try evolve certain sections. I'm not talking bringing modern World of Warcraft directly into it, though a lot of people have said Incursion is probably the closest thing to modern Warcraft. I do agree, it is instant content, but one of the things I really like about it is how alive that content feels when it comes to other players. You basically have the whole server coming together, Horde or Alliance, into that one zone, so you just see a lot of people doing stuff, and I think that's the magic of MMOs in a nutshell. It's not just what you do, it's what you see other people doing, you see them doing stuff, and you just want to sort of jump in on that action. And it really encouraged forming groups, playing with other players. Trying to do incursions by yourself really wasn't a good idea. I think Blizzard really, when they said they want to encourage this as groups, and I think they really delivered on that. Speaking of forming groups, I also think outside of incursions, this is also where Phase 3 is at its weakest. The content from level 40 to 50, though we have access to new dungeons within that cap, we have a couple of the stuff that we could do. I just think the way both the players have approached the content, and the same way how Blizzard didn't have any sort of resilience to some of the kind of rubbish, the rubbish style of play that players will do, and we saw that in abundance. So let me sort of go over this. There is quite a few dungeons between level 40 to 50, and outside of some quest requirements such as the wild offerings, and no, I would say just the wild offerings actually, players weren't really encouraged to do dungeons from start to finish as a whole. Blizzard really didn't retool some of the loot, some of the balance, some of the aspects of what dungeons you can actually access or is suitable for that level, such as from 40 to 50, and they were all over the place. The content between the level 40 and 50 experience weren't really played well due to some of the requirements, quests, and also depending on what you actually played. There was some incredibly powerful loot. I think they're a bit too overpowered and a bit too desirable, such as the epic dagger in Maradon, and we had that sword in Zul'Farrak, but I would say the Marudon weapon for casters was a bit too strong to the way it kind of made every other item deem irrelevant. So people weren't really wanting to run other content. People weren't really encouraged to do dungeons from start to finish. There were too many skip strategies. There was too many options for Blizzard giving people to skip content, which wasn't desirable. And we had BRD, which, looking at the original post, I was under the impression that the content from that would be accessible from 40 to 50 would be retooled, retweaked, balanced, made. You would be encouraged to do it because there was rewarding. It was rewarding experience to do it, but BRD wasn't that. You can enter at level 50, but you're not going to have a good experience getting halfway down the dungeon. And I think that doesn't make any sense. Why can't we have an endgame dungeon as opposed to an endgame raid? BRD would have been a perfect sort of dungeon, sort of content to do outside of incursions. And the Sunken Temple. Sunken Temple had a weekly lockout. BRD as a dungeon does not. And it kind of has that raid-like experience, and you could possibly form it with 10 people and just run it through. That would have been great, just to have daily repeatable content where you were encouraged to do it from start to finish, but we can't really finish it when you probably could with some perseverance, but it's not an enjoyable experience doing that content at level 50. So it would have been really great if Blizzard really sort of think about, we've got this bracket, this level band bracket, let's retool or retweak the content designed around that so that it makes sense for people to do, and not give these weird snippets of content which would give players an inch to go that mile to really mess things up. I do think the experience from level 40 to 50, such as the dungeons, any other form of content, has been spoiled by both Blizzard's lack of resilience to how players would approach that content and how that stuck. And I do think it's weird how they retweak some items that were either way too strong and a lot of items really weak, and not to mention the imbalance of loot and gear distribution to class types or armor types or weapon types of your classes, and how that really affected the game as a whole outside of Sunken Temple. But even within Sunken Temple, I do feel that depending what you played, you would find it more rewarding, you would find an easier time, or rather you wouldn't. It's not so much easier time, it would be a case of it just made more sense. If we look at the difference between caster gear acquisition versus melee acquisition, you have more options for weapons, for examples, versus casters, and how to obtain them and the sort of annoyances that go with it. And we have some player driven problems that unfortunately you can't get away from. The amount of hard reserving runs that you get really tires the experience, because it kind of makes you think, okay, I want to run it. I'm a type of person, I don't do hard reserve runs. I don't join them. I don't create them. And if I made I main a caster, and if I did run Maradon, I will still open it to other casters, but I know for a fact I will only have casters in that group. And one, they may ask, is it hard reserved? Secondly, they may ask to hard reserve. Thirdly, they will, yes, if said weapon would drop, it does mean I have to compete with all of them. But I still wouldn't take away their option to roll on said item. It just kind of sucks that if I want an alternative, I then have to go to Sunken Temple. But if I played a warrior, you actually have alternatives, strong alternatives, but still an alternative nonetheless. And it's kind of this experience where, because of this lack of resilience to bring about that kind of stuff, and their really weird gear distribution between classes really made a soured experience depending on what you play. I shouldn't feel bad about what I play and then feel like if I want a more positive experience, I need to reroll an alt of that particular class just to have a more fulfilled experience, more participation in content just because of what I play. I don't mean roles, I literally mean what you play because of its gear type. Just sucks, really. And I do feel this is one of the big problems of Phase 3 and its admissible amount of lackluster content is because of what people want to do, because of what people want to get. It makes a lot of content irrelevant. It makes people think I got to focus my time on this, and it really feels like there's not a lot of content to do. There is incursions, there is some of the wild offering farms that you can do, there is some of the PvP still, but it kind of feels like you really have to focus on something, and some of that is something not desirable because you don't want to do it, but you kind of have to progress the power of your character. And if we go into the incursions as well, with they're in three respectively level sort of caps or sections. You have your Darkshire, which is 25 to 35, I believe. You then have Ashen Vale, which is level 40 to 50, which those two make a lot of sense to do, though I do think the 5 level difference between Darkshire to get to 35 to 40 a little strange, but hey, oh, there you go. But the level 50 stuff, which is Ferrolas and Hinterlands, kind of makes you think, why would you want to do that? There doesn't seem to be prominent rewards for going beyond Honoured on the faction, and I do think there should have been more to do within incursions rather than just rep. And granted, some people do it because they want to get gold, but I do think as a piece of content it would have been nice to have that level of progress to do more than that. More dynamic content, like it encourages you to do the stuff in it that isn't just tied to rep, isn't just tied to gold. You kind of want to do something very more event based, something like the Super Bloom stuff in the Dragonflight expansion, those kind of things. And what's that thing called again in the Zerolek Caverns with the scientist things? I forgot the name of it. I'll try to put a name here. It would have been nice if within those zones you would have big events like that and not just a big boss. Just it would have been nice to have those kind of events and then bring all the players into zones to come together. That is also fun to do and lasts a little while, and it would encourage people to make their way there. So it keeps it alive, keeps it interesting, and it keeps a sensible reward scale, like rewards down the line, that is dispensable as you do them, not just give it a couple of hours, give it a couple of days, give it a couple of weeks until you wrap up. It would be nice to have something a little bit more tangible, and it doesn't always have to be power. I would have liked for the dungeons to have some sort of level 50 scaling, level 50 lock, maybe Zul'Farrak being also a level 50 dungeon. You had, I don't know, I do think a lot of these instances were missed opportunities because we're getting a lot more of our skill set. So it would have made more sense to be able to do it. We just can't hit stuff at level 50 plus in BRD. I know I mentioned that before, but it would have been nice if they retooled the way we actually do that content, how that content is designed down to players, down to the season of discovery itself, and not just keep it, we tried, but not enough. What do you guys think so far? Are you having a blast with Phase 3? Feeling a little bit disappointed or overwhelmed? Or is this something that's right up your alley? And does any of this make you look forward more to Phase 4 when we head up to level 60? And then we have access to most of the game. Do you think we're going to see Blizzard make the same mistakes? Hopefully not. We do see Blizzard delaying Phase 4 due to some admissions they've had for Phase 3. And we can see in their post that they obviously have the focus with the Cataclysm as expansion as well, so they've had their hands full with that, but it does feel like they need to go to the drawing board a little bit. Some of the aspects of Phase 3, one of the beautiful things about Season Discovery is what the runes give us as those classes. When we got these powerful skills, these powerful and interesting abilities at an early level, and by large not accessible in Classic, it made them worthwhile to go after. It made the game more interesting to play. It made some classes, made some specs really redefining how you can play them. And I feel Phase 3 runes just were forgettable. They didn't add anything, they weren't interesting. You wouldn't miss them if you never got them. So I really think some of the things that made Season Discovery what it is completely omitted in Phase 3, and really it felt like I wasn't playing Season of Discovery. It felt like playing just normal Classic, which is not the effort we're going through to playing this. I'm looking forward to where they go with this. So I hope they take the delay, and also they're going to be doing a PTR as well. I really hope this sort of allows them to give them more time to think of how they're going to be implementing what makes Season Discovery Season of Discovery, what they can make it that version of the game really good, what they can do to get people playing the game continuously. We can see how they've done the Pandaria remix and how people are finding that fun. They can just log in, play, and just have a blast, because it has that experimental nature. They went balls to the wall with some of it just completely bonkers to what you play, and we lost that feeling with Season Discovery. And I would like them to take their time. They've already stated they're going to take their time. Hope they take the PTR and really not just focus on clinical balance, but also let's bring some of this barminess back to the game. Let's make these runes more prominent, make them strong, make them interesting, make us want to go get them. And also I would love for them to sort of put a lot of them into epic quest lines for either something class driven or just general quests that various classes share anyway, so it encourages people to do them. I would love to see that. I would love to see some of these mind-boggling skills be made accessible, and also just think about some very I won't say game-breaking, but almost feel like game-breaking skills. I would love to see that implemented, because balance isn't a thing in this mode of game. If we're looking at some of the blue posts, and like I said, the PTR plans, they're going to have, or with people that participate in it, they're going to have all the runes available for it. they're not going to share how you're going to get them, but they're just going to share like what they actually are. And I think as long as they make them great and interesting, I think that'd be great. Like I said, like if they tie them to some sort of epic way of obtaining them, they haven't really shared the testing schedule for it, but it is what it is. And they say many classes will see substantial redesigns. That's interesting. I'm not too sure why they would do substantial redesigns on classes in Season Discovery, though I anticipate it's more to do with the classes that have additional specs, such as Mage Healing, Warlock Tank, Shaman Tank, Rogue Tank. So they may get redesigned so that they have more sensibility. I would say some of those classes are weaker than others, especially their counterparts. Especially Mage Healing is a little weird. It's definitely still substantially weaker than an actual dedicated healer. So we'll see how that goes. But I'm also interested in how they're redesigning stuff, as opposed to just redesigning some of the runes. So be interesting. Not to mention some of the runes becoming baseline skills. Either they've run out of ideas or they feel like some of the skills are so adamantly used and might as well make them baseline, so they might as well add runes that add that special touch. So that, for example, if you're a mage, though they added Balefire Bolt to phase 3, there's no reason to use it. You will still use Frostfire Bolt in that particular instance, so that the rune is useless. You would only get it just as sort of as a completionist sake. So if they start adding some of the runes as baseline skills, it means, in theory, if the skills for the runes that they're going to add are bonkers, then at least you'll have some use for it. That's what I hope. And it seemed like with the level 60 content phases, they're going to be doing something similar to their rollout, like they did with their opening of the raid. So I think with the way they've done it so far with the rollout with Season Discovery, that makes a little bit of sense. I'm hoping during this particular phase they will still have tweaked dungeons made into raids. I would love them to sort of sprinkle that in and not just have the old raids be the only raids, though they're retooling them to be 20 man at the least. I think this is the way forward. I don't think there should be 40 man. If you want to do 40 man raids, Classic Era still exist for that, and have 20 people. It's getting 40 people is not fun. Even gathering 20 people is not fun. So it is the lesser of two evils, and not to mention these content phases in Season Discovery are shorter. So to have a faster cadence of being able to make a group, getting it in there and completing content is actually way more important than getting the 40 man experience, because if you're spending a couple of days, or if you're losing a raid lockout week on week out because you can't get 40 people, then that's a lot of time lost experiencing that content. I mean, that will be highly frustrating if you've only had, I don't know, half of that period of actual raiding you never got to clear, just because it was harder to get 40 people than it was to actually do that boss or do that raid. So I'm very curious to see how they follow through with this, and I think for many people, once they're actually done with the classic, how do we go on from there? There was a snippet of a dev interview that I saw where the question was asked, is Season Discovery ending with classic, vanilla classic? And they said no, it's going beyond that. So I'm excited to see, is it going to be the fabled Classic Plus, where Vanilla Classic branches off into a new timeline and different content specifically made for it, assuming they now have a dedicated team exclusively for Season Discovery and its development, where they're not shared between the other classic continuum, which is now Cataclysm. That'll be interesting to see. And we're not getting BlizzCon this year, so I don't anticipate that level of big news, but we could get Burning Crusade Season Discovery. If we do, I'm still looking forward to that. I missed our opportunity window again in Classic. So, either way, the future of Season Discovery is exciting either way for me. If to continue on to a new branch, I'll go into Burning Crusade. I'm excited for that. But I am very, very biased towards the Fable Classic Plus and see what absolutely new things they can bring to the old world of Azeroth without going into a portal, without going into space, without going on a boat and finding there's an island covered in mists, or some islands are broken. Let's just have what the game is known in the known world, in the classic, before they started expanding it with some weirdness. I would love to absolutely see the current world explored more, not just at a surface level, a little bit of under as well. Let's discover some of these secrets that Azeroth has held in the past, which were scrapped, or there were ideas but never fully implemented, or half baked and never really saw the light of day. I really enjoyed reading some of the lore and tidbits back in the day with what the world of Azeroth, when I saw the maps and always like, what is there? Doesn't seem open. Maybe we'll see it open at some point. Maybe we get to explore that a little bit. And it never came to be. Some of the lore in Darkshore when it came to that sword, or the whatever, the minion of an old god, whatever it was, that we really didn't get to see in Classic, but we did get to see a little bit of it, I believe, in Battle for Azeroth, but really that I didn't like how that delivered it. It would have been interesting to sort of follow through some of these mysteries that Azeroth has had, even if they're not world ending or zone ending or gonna crush a small town. Some of these interesting lore that this town, this questing areas, say that they've had this lore for thousands of years, and I don't know, it'd be nice to have that and to explore. I would love for them to really sort of add this as a brand new branch of the game. Let me know what you guys think of Phase 3 so far, and the upcoming snippet of information we have for Phase 4. What you're looking forward to, what you hope to look forward to, what you hope Blizzard don't do, what do you hope players don't get up to and possibly ruin the experience. Let's hope for the best. I really sincerely so, and I would kind of prefer to just have some resilience to players when it comes to the content. But hey, I'm looking forward to the next phase. I'm looking forward to experiencing the classic experience that I've still missed out on. The era's there, but I prefer Season Discovery. I'm looking forward to the runes. I'm looking forward to the tweaks that they'll do. I look forward to see how bonkers it can be. Fingers crossed, we'll see that. Till next time, guys. See ya.